Hey everyone, welcome back to South Hill Farms. Hope everyone's doing really well. And today I'm going to show you one of the farm vehicles. I've got a 2005 Ford F350 with a 6-liter diesel. The infamous, notorious 6-liter diesel. I've had this truck for about a year and a half now. And I bought it from the original owner. And it's got low KMs on it. Got a little over or a little under 220,000 kilometers, so that's really low. So this is what they call in Western Canada, they call them road queens if you don't use them for their intended purposes. And with a 1-ton chassis and a 6-liter diesel, you'd expect this thing to be used, but it wasn't used. It was kind of a commuter vehicle, which caused a bit of its own problems. One of the problems is that these turbos and the oil coolers in these things do get plugged up. And sure enough, after a couple of months after I bought it, I was hauling a travel trailer across Canada, and we stopped about a couple of hours into our travels, and it had some major service. Major meaning $3,200. Now, none of the components were replaced, but they had to be cleaned out and reset and readjusted, and that cost money. A mechanic had to take the turbocharger off, had to take the oil cooler off. I think there's an EGR valve or some other valves that had to be taken off and cleaned out. It was just a cleaning process because it gets carbon, it gets crud buildup in there, and so far after a year and a half, it's been good, but I won't call it a reliable vehicle till I have it for at least 5 years. And if it needs a 5-year clean out or a 10-year clean out, I'm okay with that. That's not too bad. But these 6 liters are notorious. They say that after 2000 or, starting at 2005, they had most of the gremlins fixed on it, and it ended up being a really good diesel for them. But this is the start of the pollution controls on diesels, and this was a major change in the way they produced diesel engines, and they got it wrong the first couple of years, and then after that, apparently they got it right. They're starting to say a lot of different things about these 6-liter diesels, and that they're a good foundation for a really good diesel. So mine is completely stock. There's no add-ons of any kind. Pollution control is still on there. So what I want you to do is show you and possibly take you for a drive. There it is. That's the front. I think this series of truck is probably one of the nicer ones. I think in 2005 they changed the headlights a little bit from the 2003 model, and they changed the front smiley face of the front grille a little bit as well. And you can see got some rust on that wiper arm. I want to take care of that. And it is a 10-year-old truck. I took some of the rust off and I painted some of it. It's a charcoaly or graphite gray color, or charcoaly color. And a luxury interior. Can't believe how trucks are made these days. But it's a luxury interior. Now get this, folks. I very much dislike leather, and everyone that knows me knows that I dislike leather very much because it's simply cold in the winter, and it's really hot in the summer. 15 years ago, you had the option of getting a luxury vehicle and getting something called a premium cloth. And it was beautiful and far more durable than leather would ever be. And you go to these car auctions, and sure enough, when you see these old luxury cars, the leather seats are in really bad shape. But when you see the premium cloth seats that they used to make, they're in almost like brand new condition. So I had some rust on this side right over here, and I took it out. I neutralized the rust and did a pretty good job. And so, because I do want to put a company sign on the truck, so I did want to make it look pretty decent. I'm going to take off that silly FX4 decal on there. I don't care if I have an FX4 suspension. It makes no difference to me. It's got a nice cap on it. I love that. I love that cap. I've always loved caps, especially the ones that are, you know, level with the body. It just looks sleek. And then here's the inside. I have one of my pet peeves as well is seat covers. I dislike seat covers, but the guy that had it, the original owner had it, and these and the leather here is in pretty much brand new condition. Now, you know, one of the reasons that people with cars with leather seats don't last long is because they don't take care of them, right? Leather is skin, and you have to lotion it up, and I do lotion my leather, you know, twice a year, so it should still last a long time. And this leather on this truck is thick. You can feel it. It is thick leather. It's not the cheap stuff that General Motors had in the early to mid 2000s. This is thick leather. So I think I'll probably have a little bit more success with this one. Hey, Hugo, come on, buddy. Come on. We're going to go into town fairly soon, and I got to pick up some stuff and take my dog along with me. Come on, pup. Get inside. Atta boy. And we'll start it up, get inside, and take a look at the truck. It starts off real nice. I hate that sound. That's okay. Have I used the word hate a little too much on my video today? Yeah, sniffy, sniffy, sniff, dog. Turn that radio off. So how many kilometers? Okay, oh, so, wow, I got a lot less than I thought I did. I have 219,000 kilometers, and I'm getting 5.7 kilometers per liter gas. Now I'm going to turn this over for those people that work on Imperial. Now, even this type of measurement we do not use in Canada. We use liters per 100 kilometers. So why Ford is allowed to measure liters that way, I don't know, but they do. So just let me oops, let's go to setup here. Press reset. No, I don't want to press reset. Units. Okay, we'll go to English. Okay, so 13.6 miles per gallon. That is not good for a diesel, you know. And I just had that major clean out done. Now, I have been carrying some stuff in the back. That does make a difference, but it shouldn't make that much of a difference. But you know what? I'm not getting rid of the truck. I like it. It's a good truck. I'm a fan of diesel. I don't know why, but I am. And now we're going into town. Going into town. So today's garbage day. Garbage man caught me today putting too many bags of garbage on the roadside, on the edge of the road, and so we had a little chat. And you know, I just acknowledged that we had too many. He was really good about it, great guy, and I blamed it on the wife. Okay, so this truck is a luxury truck. It's a Lariat. It's a Lariat model, so it's got all the doodads in it. You know, some of the worst things in the world, like leather seats and sunroof, all those things that nobody needs and doesn't make things any more comfortable. It's just silly add-on stuff that is just ridiculous. One of the things that I really like about that you can only get in luxury vehicles, which was a real selling feature for me, is automatic climate control. I really like automatic climate control, and you know, I set it and I use it, and I really like it. It's a big function for me, and it just keeps things nice and comfortable. I have heated seats as well, as you have to have pretty much in leather seats, but it's still ridiculous, you know. And it doesn't come on quick enough either. I took a ride in. You know, I actually had at one point wanted to buy a BMW M5. Glad I didn't. But you know, they go for a pretty reasonable price for reasons that if you're not your own mechanic, you pay silly. So if you want to get heated seats that work really good, that's in an M5 BMW. They come on within seconds, and you can feel the heat in your back and in your bum within 10 seconds easily. This one will take at least a minute and a half before I feel anything, sometimes longer. So, but it's typical American heated seats, I would say. It's they're not too fast on the draw when it comes to heating anything up. You know, one thing I forgot to tell you about this truck, it has a 6-speed ZF transmission in it. So it's a 6-speed automatic, and usually it works in 5-speed, but in cooler days, it does have an extra gear which engages, and it turns it into a 6-speed. That's kind of interesting. I read on why in the manual why it does that, but I forget because it was quite a while ago when I did read that. And you know, ZF transmission, great transmission manufacturer. They manufacture for many different companies, European companies, and of course American companies as well. And it is equivalent to the Allison transmission company for the General Motors heavy-duty trucks as well. So they you know, they run neck and neck as far as durability, technology, etc., etc. All in all, a good transmission from my understanding. They've been around forever, and they do a pretty darn good job. So just making my way to the local town, and yeah, and I'll see you all later. What else can I tell you about my truck? You know, again, the mileage is not what I want, especially in a diesel, and we are getting cooler weather, and so that has an effect on the fuel consumption as well. And you know, it's just something that everyone deals with, whether it's gas or diesel. But you know, right now it's 5 degrees Celsius outside, and you know, we've been getting between 5 and 12 degrees Celsius for the past few weeks now, and just winter is telling us that it is going to be here. We have the usual guarantee that it will come, and everyone's just hoping that it's going to be a mild winter. So the maximum I've pulled with this vehicle is, I believe, 7,500 pounds. That's around 3,200 kilos. So I think that's around 3,200 kilo, 30 to 3,500 kilograms. And I think the maximum load, trailering load for this vehicle is, oh wow, it's pretty high. I think it runs at around 18,000 pounds, or around 8,000 kilograms, 7,500 to 8,000 kilograms. And you know, it's a pretty heavy duty beast, so it can do a lot of work if you need it to do work. And but you know, I don't run a company that really requires it to do that kind of work. And it has some really nice features, like a factory integrated brake control, which you know, works great. And it does not have an engine brake, but I've noticed that the engine does react to going downhill. So it does, especially when I have it in cruise, it will try to keep it at the speed that I set it to, even going downhill, which you know, my gas vehicle does not do that, and yet it's the same year. But it's you know, I really can't vouch for the reliability of the vehicle yet because I spent that money last year and I've only had it for a year and a half now I've had it for. And so, you know, in 5 years time, if it doesn't cost me any more money than the usual maintenance stuff in 5 years, then I can say it's been a relatively reliable vehicle. And but until that point, I cannot really make that call, because that wouldn't be fair to the future buyer. If there is such a thing as a future buyer, matter of fact, I hope I keep this vehicle for a long time. I have not had success keeping vehicles for any length of time because I change them too frequently. But maybe this is the one where I won't change it frequently. I had a Ford pickup truck. One of my first pickup trucks I ever had was a Ford F100, and that vehicle I had for 7 years, and that's the longest I've ever owned a vehicle. But you know, there's people out there that have vehicles for, well, my dad had one for 14 or 15 years, and he kept it up really, really nice and kept it looking good. And but I have not had success in doing that. I just change it too frequently. You know, always justifying the change of the vehicles that I have for whatever reason. And but you know, that's the way it is. So what I still might do this week, even though the weather is cooling down, I did buy some rust protection spray. I put some rust protection spray inside the doors and on the bottom edge of the doors in, I think it was June of this year. I did the same to my wife's vehicle as well. So I'd still like to continue and do some undercoating work as well. You know, when I get older, I'll let other people do that. But while, you know, I'm still relatively flexible and have the energy to do it and have the time to do it, I will save money where I can and buy the bottle of goop and put it on. And you know, considering I live in the Rust Belt now, that's something I have to pay close attention to. You know, surprise! Considering where I lived before in the semi-desert of the prairies, this truck had some surface rust on it, and I'm seeing a lot more rust on vehicles where I came from than I used to, and rust is becoming more of an issue, more of a challenge to that area in Alberta. And I think it has a lot to do with the fact that they get such dramatic shifts in weather, even in the wintertime, where they'll have warm weather coming in, thawing everything out, leaving a lot of slush on the road. They don't use a lot of salt on the road there, but they do use some type of salt and or some type of thawing ingredient. It may not be salt, it may be a newer type of technology, I don't know. But you know, it does cause the issues of creating that rust. But you can see the oh, you can't see it too well, but I do have automatic light adjustment on the instrument panel, which is really nice because it adjusts for the light. You know, when it gets dark, it shines brighter, and in twilight it will shine just a little bit, and it has a nice glow to it, and which is really, really nice. It gives it a really nice look. You know, those are the little things that you do pay for when you buy a luxury vehicle. it's kind of funny to say that you know, a truck is a luxury vehicle, but that's what they've become these days. It's really, really amazing what they've done to trucks. They've put a huge amount of engineering capital into these large vehicles because you know, in the decade of the 2000s, that's where the money was and that's where the money flowed, and it bankrupted GM at the time, but at the same time, those ignorant, arrogant executives had a smile on the face and said, well, we're just selling what the customer wants, and yet they went broke. So obviously that tells me they were not selling what the customer wanted, and but Ford had caught on a little bit earlier, and I'm not, you know, I'm neutral when it comes to manufacturers. I don't promote one or the other. They, in my opinion, they all have absolutely fantastic vehicles. Some do a job better than others on certain types of vehicles. But bravo to all of the manufacturers that have done a great job, you know, especially considering what they were putting out in the 70s and the 80s, and even a little bit in the early 90s. But they've improved so much, so dramatically that you know, they put a lot of European cars to shame, and except for Volvo and the cars like Saab, which do an absolutely phenomenal job. And but there's a lot of great manufacturers out there, and I applaud them. And you know, it comes down to the money as well. What can I say? I mean, you pay an arm and a leg for a vehicle these days, and some of them make comparisons with how much a vehicle used to cost based on your annual salary to what it is now. So, you know, let's say your household income is $80,000 to $100,000, and if your car costs 1/4 of your annual income, let's say, you know, then that would be equivalent to $20,000 to $25,000. That would be the average cost of a vehicle. So we know the average cost is much higher than that these days, but the stuff that they put into vehicles is absolutely tremendous. But you really can't make that kind of comparison anymore either, because, you know, in my generation we are taxed quite differently from the generation that first made that type of comparison. And it has a lot to do with our expectations as well, living expectations. You know, our living expectations are quite different now as well, where, you know, I spend money on things like internet and cell phone and things of that nature, which we had never had in the past. It's something that is still relatively new. It's making those kind of expenses and having those expectations for those expenses on a household never were in the past. You know, when I was a teenager, we didn't have cable. We had an antenna on our television, and we had one phone in the house, and that's the phone that everyone used, and that was the expense that you had. And you know, if you, and there wasn't anything else. You did have cable, I mean, but I lived in a rural area when I grew up, so I don't believe cable was available at that time in that location, even though it wasn't really way in the backwoods rural. It was nonetheless, it was a smaller town in a rural area. So that's all I got to say about the truck, and I hope that you enjoyed this little bit in the truck. I'll take you out for more rides later, on other times, and including pulling a trailer and pulling some lightweight loads on the trailer. I do have a travel trailer as well that I did not use this year at all. I think I was just a little tired of traveling and the dramatic experience of basically moving across the country. I think I had to chill out and just try to unfocus and refocus on other things other than the dramatic move that I made. So Yeah, but it does take time to settle. There's no doubt. Oh man, I gotta fix the flag. I gotta fix the flag. Oh, Canada.